Violent crime is surging in Louisiana. Woke leaders blame the police. I blame the criminals. A mom should not have to look over her shoulder when she's pumping gas.
This is Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana trying to remind Louisianans that shoving unchecked appropriations into policing and even less into communities is what keeps violent crime at bay. Can you guess what he thinks causes violent crime?
I voted against the early release of violent criminals, and I opposed defunding the police. Look, if you hate cops just because they're cops, the next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kennedy, and I approve this message.
Let's just entertain this for a sec. He thinks his constituents are so dumb and unresourceful that in an emergency, they wouldn't call the fire department, social services, or family members before they'd call a drug addict. He had a real opportunity to discuss options for preventing and reducing violent crime in a state that does have one of the highest violent crime rates in the country. But he reduced himself to placing all the blame on the shoulders of black men and sent a dog whistle to all his suburban and rural supporters about where the trouble starts.
Now this here is Louisiana politics at its best. But it's also racist as hell, and he ain't say nothing about opioid addicts, meth addicts, none of that other stuff, because he was trying to talk about a specific subset of people that he doesn't give a damn about serving in Louisiana since he's been elected. We need leaders who have real solutions to the problem in our communities, not cowards like John Kennedy who drop one-liners and do nothing on the job. You're a piece of trash.
He's trash. It's the same Republican playbook. Blame addicts, deflect from Republican inaction, and do nothing. Kennedy knows that crack addicts are likely hurting themselves and their families more than anything, and if they're just users with no violent record, they're still a bigger target for cops. Louisiana has the 7th highest death rate from drug overdoses, and cops are 3 times more likely to kill black people than white people. But that would put blame on Louisiana's Republican legislators and sheriffs. No, we can't do that. Kennedy said it himself. He blames the criminals. A lot of systemic failures go into greater violence. Decades of generational poverty, which then leads to food and housing insecurity, which then leads to poor performance in school and higher dropout rates. Then after that, juvenile delinquency, which then leads to drug use and crime that's influenced by drug use and dependency. And Louisiana's response is the nation's highest incarceration rate, increased access to guns, they rank second worst in gun deaths, a $7.25 minimum wage, they're second worst in public education, more than 1 in 4 kids have food insecurity, and black families are hit almost twice as hard as white families, according to KSLA News. Crime usually gets dismissed by Republicans as a Democrat problem because Democrats run larger cities where higher numbers of crime happen. First of all, more people means greater possibility for crime. Duh. But interestingly, only 2 of America's top 100 cities in population are in high murder rate states, and 0 of the top 10 murder rate states have the highest population density. Secondly, Democratic mayors are generally handicapped by powerful, well-funded police unions run by cops who are whiter, more politically right, and therefore less identifying with their constituents. It's important to note you may only hear about crime in big cities because big media doesn't cover anything but those cities. But 2/3 of the 25 most violent crime-ridden states have Republican leadership. Senator John Kennedy is a coward who was beholden to the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, as you saw proudly displayed in his ad. His racist tactics are for them. He hasn't accepted any invitation to debate with progressive Gary Chambers or moderate Luke Mixon because his work schedule is uncertain, probably because his legislative track record sucks, and he's done nothing significant for Louisiana's safety and well-being. He prioritized fewer qualification standards for concealed carry of guns and ammunition by law enforcement. No wonder he has an A rating from the NRA. He prioritized grant money to protect just tourist areas and less red tape preventing law enforcement from investigating inmates' commissary funds. Oh yeah, and for someone who loves cops so much, he voted against police funding in the American Rescue Plan. I would never trust Senator Kennedy to look out for others' best interest. That ad is the most he would ever do for, and closest he would ever want to be, to a black Louisianan. I'll let Gary Chambers take it away. He sums it up better than I do.
We need leaders who have real solutions to the problem in our communities, not cowards like John Kennedy who drop one-liners and do nothing on the job. You're a piece of trash.